Hey, everybody. So let's begin the scan and start throwing out names, things that you want to go over, things that you're curious about. I have a list of things that I want to do and go through. So, there's a bunch of names I really want to address. Just pop this link in a couple spots and we'll go from there. And pop it in one more place, and then I'm ready to go. Too many of these little windows up. There we go. Perfect. All right, so I'm ready to go here. So, for me, what I really want to focus on. Hey, Joshua. So, the biggest things for me in looking at this week and what's playing out. I'll just start with, let's go to recently viewed so people can keep a record. So if you look at this, one of the things that people like is I keep recently viewed over here now. And what that does is you can see what we've already looked at or what I'm looking at or have looked at. I'm just going to start here. So Tesla, obviously, delivery numbers were through the roof. For those that are in this from the newsletter, we've just absolutely crushed it. It even beat the highest estimate. But what you're really looking for is you're just watching this level. Okay. You just really want to see it get above this level. It's really 780, 79 that you're looking for. And just watch this tomorrow because if you're about to rally, which this NASDAQ looks like we might have a little bump tomorrow, then you could actually see this take off pretty much. So, and you're not looking for much out of it. Here, look at this. I'll show you what you should really just be focused on. Let's pull this down. So really all you're looking for is this, right? It's pretty clean, right? You can see it. The real issue here is that all these wicks are still there. So you just want to focus on that. But overall, to start there, this should be on everybody's radar tomorrow. I really think this has a lot of potential. And I don't think that, let me just squeeze this back down. I think this has a lot of potential to take out the high, even in this environment. It's just super strong. If we were in a better market, this would have taken off already. Now, so, hey, Ro. Hey, Nicholas. So I'm just going to keep going through these. And then you guys can just throw out names if you want. But this is not over. It may sell down, and because people, you have to realize something. People that have been in this for a long time, right, from here back here, like the news finally hit, right, and now they benefited from it. So you're going to see some selling, but I do not believe this moves over. This is a really simple trade idea. Just watch these key levels, right? So pretty clean where you stopped at and where the low was here, right? This was actually 863, it looks like, right there. So what you want to do is just watch those two levels. But I would imagine this to base and then start grinding higher. But watch those levels tomorrow. But more importantly, that Merck news really moved this of all the indexes the most. And this is the only index technically that we're above. I guess we didn't when the final close happened. We're above the 8-day moving average. So it looks like we closed right on it. This is a pretty decent reversal for that day. So I would expect this to continue. You have to see if you're going to follow through. This was the first one that made an actual higher high out of the indexes. So I think that space is going to be something to definitely keep an eye on. Yeah, let me start. I really want to go through that trade, Jen. Give me a minute. I'll go through these first. EXPE, and then bookings and ALGN. So let's go through EXPE first. Okay, and then we'll kind of go from there. In regards to EXPE, I really think that you need to take a hard look at this. Like, I think people are grossly underestimating this Merck drug and how it's going to change things. So, look, Here's the thing about it. Okay. You're not going to be able to tell people, or people that are afraid are not going to be afraid as much anymore if they can take a pill. Okay. They're just not going to be. People are going to travel more now. It's just really that simple. If you're vaccinated and you can take a pill, then you're in really good conditioning, and you're in really good shape. So see this line right here? Okay. See how you're having trouble with it? You can't close above it. That's what you want to say. There's your trend line. It's pretty clean, right? So with that type of clean trend line and what's going on there macroly, that's really what you want to focus on. You really want to focus on something like that, because if you're going to start booking airline flights, if you're going to start booking hotels, you're going to use Orbitz, Expedia, bookings.com. You're going to use all of these. I mean, it's a matter of time. And, you had a massive sell down, and then on that news, that's exactly what happened. No one's going to want to hear I don't know if anyone saw what came out today with the CEO, the chief product officer of BNTX came out and said, oh, we're probably going to have a new shot next year. Well, that's not going to, people are going to get over this real quick when they realize they can take a pill. So I think that this is grossly underestimated on what these stocks could do. Grossly underestimated. I think these stocks could really explode, and I think that there's a lot to start looking at here. I mean, you have to think about it this way in regards to this. No matter where you stand on this issue, right? We're here to make money, and if you have 100,000 people packed in a football stadium, you think they're not going to travel, right? So I would expect to see things really open up. I would expect them to really open up. And I think that these types of companies like Booking and Expedia are going to benefit greatly from it. If you close over this 25, 14.99, I would be all over this. If I close over that level, I'd be all over it. I'm not going to chase this for, 25, 30 points on a $2,500 name. It's not worth it, because I'd want it to break over this and then rip. And I don't think that would be of interest. But getting above this, and let's be exact, because it really does matter. And all I'm looking for is a close over this. Okay, 25.16 is the high. So that's really what you're looking for, 25.16 on this. And then I think it could really go. I'm not worried about the wick as much as I just want to get it over and close over, right? I mean, if you got over that 25.42, sure, then you can give it a shot as well if it does that during the day. But for over a close, get a close over that, and you're going to wind up going. This stock has just been an absolute monster, and you can see how obviously came in, sold off during the pandemic for obvious reasons. But when you go back and take a look at where you've been and where you're coming back from, this is a huge cup on the weekly. This is setting up to run. I think this has massive potential. Look at where you're at on the monthly. Right? If you close here, you're at your second highest close of all time, and the market's selling off. So imagine what happens when the market gets better. So I think that this has massive potential. It's actually on my short list, but I just don't think we're there yet. ALGN, in regards to this is from a monthly chart. I was just showing this line and how we were respecting it. This was probably 2-3 months ago that we started showing that, and you can see how that rejected. Here you are in the weekly as we're running through these, right? And look what you pulled back to. Pulled right back to that key level right here, right? I'll just do it from here. You can see how it rejected. Now you're here, right? So you can kind of see that. Throw this one up here, show you where the other spot, right? So you've got some key levels. Maybe you hold here in ALGN. I don't know. It doesn't look like it. To me, on just looking at the daily, you're sitting right on those levels. And if you break them, you're going to wind up coming to here. I wouldn't be chasing this. It's not something I'd be chasing. So I just keep going. So ASML. Hey, Timo. So Terry, I'm going to walk through that. That's an interesting question. ASML, time to get in. So I think there's a trade there. It's why I put it in the top 10. Okay. It's why it's in the top 10. And I think it's really important to understand this. So for me, one of the key things that I'm trying to do here is get people to understand that you're in a trading market, right? And Terry, I'll get to that question because it's very important what you're asking. This has shifted. We've shifted. Okay, we're not in this runaway bull market, right? These stocks are not breaking out and running up. They're breaking out, going up for a couple days, maybe if you're lucky, and then rolling back down. Okay, so it's literally get what you can while you can get it and go from there. Well, that presents other opportunity. And if you haven't watched that top 10 video yet, I would strongly recommend that you watch it. Right in here, I was just trying to point this out. When you have corrections like this that are that far to the 100-day within 5 to 7 business days, or trading days, I should say, you want to pay attention to that. That's a level that you really want to focus on. Okay, 100-day moving average, get there in 5 to 7 trading days. You want to pay attention to that. That's a massive move, especially when you're up here, right? So, and that's the point that I was getting at. So based upon that, you can bounce. Now, in regards to that, how would you bounce? How would that work, right? You're not looking for much. All you're looking for is to flip that level, 745, and then to go. And the other thing that I pointed out in the top 10 video, and again, I'd watch that for greater detail, this is starting to bottom out, okay? I mean, I'm in the 20s now on the RSI. It's starting to slow down. And just always look for a perspective. Okay, the last time we were this low was the pandemic, okay? So it just kind of puts it in perspective for you, right? So this is very oversold. Now, I'm not saying that you're in a massive uptrend here. You're not. You're broken. This broke, right? The 8 and the 21 are crossing. This is down. But what's happening is it's getting to a point, and I showed this also. I'll point this out for you. Like, she's getting to a point where I was showing this on a histogram. And again, I'm not a big MACD person, but you need to pay attention to the histogram because it explains a lot. So what you want to focus on here is look where you're at on this histogram. Okay, look where you were on the histogram during the pandemic. Okay, once this has like an uptick over and it stops going down, you're going to see a massive bounce here, massive. Okay, and by the time these averages actually do something, it's too late. You've missed it. But you could actually bounce, I think, back up to this 50-day, and that's what I'd be looking for. I think you could make 40, 50 points here. I think it's a really good trading idea. So I like it. I'll be looking at it tomorrow to see if it does it. If it does, great. If not, I'll just get out of it. It's not a big deal. So let's see here. LXU and MOS. So LXU, I mean, this is the type of stock you should be looking for. What industry are they in? This is exactly what you want to see in a market like this. Stocks that are breaking out, making new highs. So I don't have any volume. It's probably not something I'd play with because I don't have any volume down here, but I could see the interest. That's a pretty big break. And look, from that wick line, you can see what's going on there. So that's pretty interesting. You have a channel that you flip too, don't you? Right? Look. So you flip that channel. That's pretty interesting. Tried to break it, held it, opened on it, boom. And now you're up here closing at an all-time high. That's very interesting. Yeah. What space are they in? I mean, this is breaking out. I mean, it's definitely breaking out. I mean, look at this. Look at these levels. Yeah, I like this. You know, this is interesting. You know, it's definitely interesting. It's one that I would definitely continue to look at. So once you get through this, which you're already doing, you really don't have anything till up here, $15, $16. And then this all starts, you start getting in all that. I'm not saying you're getting there, but you could see this getting to $15, $16. So I like that. That might work. MOS, the Mosaic company. Yeah, they're all tiles, right? Their tiles are carpet. Isn't that what they do? Completely broke down during the pandemic, right? And then now look at you. You're back to 37. It's just crazy what the stock has done. Yeah, people going back to the office, that could definitely work. There's your level. That it can work. I think they're like one of the largest flooring companies in the world, if I'm not mistaken. So people going back to the office, people revamping their offices, because people are going to go back to the office. It's just a question of when, and that's definitely something worth looking at. But yeah, if it breaks that 38 level, absolutely, you could take a look at this. And your channel's up here, so you could get into the mid 40s fairly quickly. So I do like that. I like both those, Nicholas. APRN and UPWK. APRN, I'll just throw a caveat out there. I mean, I threw it out there on Friday in the community. Look, in regards to this, I did it for a trade. There's something going on here, and I haven't had time to read the fundamentals of it, right? But this is when they did a private placement, which people are like, oh, they're in a death spiral because they're doing it to raise cash, right? And when you do these kinds of convertibles at those low levels, it's usually considered a death spiral just because the volume of convertible that you have to issue is so great, there's no way that you can ever really pay it back, right? Well, that's not the case here. Something's going on here where they have taken a decent sized position and they're doing okay. So now the question becomes what to do with it. So for me, looking at something like that, I don't really think you can chase it. I think you have to find a setup and then kind of go from that setup, right? And that's what I was throwing out there the other day. Like, okay, we got above the 772 and then we went, all right, so it gave us an opportunity to trade it a little bit. You really have to just watch it, see how it plays out. I don't really see a sense of doing anything with it. If you're in it, congratulations, stay in it. I wouldn't chase it up here. I'd wait for some kind of pullback. And it should have some kind of pullback. So UPWK is just fighting that entire level right there. So there you are at 51.22. You're still there. Nothing's changed. You're finally back above the 200-day moving average, but I don't really see a reason to do anything there. It's not very attractive. I mean, you still have this trend line you have to get through. In order for this break to be confirmed, I at least got to get above this, which I'm having a hard time with, right? So, and here, hold on. So you can see it, okay? You really have to get up to here to confirm that one break. So I still have a lot of work to do here. And that's kind of interesting too. If we kind of draw this back across the line, you kind of see that level here and here and here. So it's definitely something to watch. I wouldn't be crazy about this. To me, you're in like a kind of like a stage 3 there, right? I mean, here was your huge run up and now you're just kind of batting around and there's a lot of volatility in there. I'm not saying you can't trade it, but I wouldn't be going crazy there. It's not something I'd be going crazy on. Should we start looking at puts and spies on rallies? The short answer, Terry, I'm going to just be blunt, is yes. I do. I think it's exactly how you trade this. Let me get rid of this and let's just talk about this for a minute. So let's just not get into everything and let's just get into some things, okay? So let me just kind of point something out here, right? So no matter what you think, this peak or this trough and these lines are the major trend line, right? No matter how you want to lay it out. Now you can lay it out and say, wow, that trend line changed and this one took over, right? Okay, 6 1/2, right? It's really 6 1/2. You're on the same trajectory, right? They connect at the same place. So that doesn't really matter. So for our sake, I want to just show this because I think it's really important. Okay. The very first thing I want to point out is we have never, let me just move that little line over there. Okay. We have never broken this since the pandemic. It has not happened that we've broken this. Now what you're seeing is going straight up. You see how this is going like this, right? Okay. We've never had, and let me just show you what I'm talking about. We've never had a lower low. since this has started, right? It just hasn't happened. I mean, no matter, I'm going to just draw these to put it in perspective for everybody so you can understand this, because this is important. I mean, all I'm doing is taking these little low spots and showing, right, what's happening. You never broke. Now, where did you break? Well, you broke this one, right? This break right here at that level on this break. Now let's zoom in on this. So, and that's going to, I mean, the short answer to your question, Terry, is yes. The long answer is you need to understand why. Okay. You've never done that before. You see that low right there, 436.12? Look at this, look at this line right here. 436.77 was the high. You couldn't hold it. What was the high this day? 436.03. Okay. So this is resistance. There's a resistance line up here. Look at this very cleanly. Okay. See how you rejected it here? Weren't able to close it, right? But when you did, you rallied, had a little island, but then you broke down that island again and reversed. So you actually have an island reversal here too, which is not great at all. So I would be really very cautious here. And so on rallies, yes. Do I think that you're going to go straight down? No. But this is the first time in over a year where you need to really pay attention to what I just showed you, because it's the first time in a year where you have real risk. People think, and I mean this very kindly, for the people that have been trading for a short period of time, for like a year or two, and you think you've seen a correction, you haven't seen anything. Okay, you haven't. So there's been no major correction of any kind since the pandemic. And if you've been trading after that, you haven't seen it. And it can get really vicious very, very fast. So yeah, I'm a seller of puts on any, or a buyer of puts on any rally. And I got to get above that 50-day moving average. Until then, you know, I wouldn't touch it. The Qs is the same exact trade I just showed you. It's always a little more volatile, right? Always a little more volatile, but it's the same exact trade. So absolutely, I would be doing that. I would absolutely recommend that you do that. And that was the long answer to your question, but you get it. Lucid and APRN. So let's start over. I was trading this the other day. Okay. So this was pretty clean in here. And, you know, I was trying to point this out the other day, like, this became your level, right? And then every time over that level, you broke and you would sell down. So now you're below the 8-day again. Maybe the 200 holds. I mean, it's a very crowded short. So if it starts going up again, that's exactly what's going to happen. You know, I think they're supposed to start delivering some cars. I don't know how many, but I don't really expect this to be my personal opinion is I don't think this company's around in a year. You know, I know people are excited about the battery life and everything, but I don't think they're going to be able to I don't think they're going to be able to scale. I think that's going to be their issue. So they do have people that like the name and they like the car and they want it to work. But I think longer term, you're going to have an issue here. But right here, that 28 level, you can't get above it. You cannot close above that level. So I would not be long that, and I'd be shorting rallies into 28. You know, that's how I would be playing it on the short term anyway. APRN I did. Hey, Dane, CF. So, you know, I mean, that's a monster move, right? On Friday. I mean, you're right through it. There's your wick. Bonk, 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 boom, and then you broke. Right. I mean, there's nothing to say. I mean, it's perfect. You're right here. You have huge volume. Look at your relative volume on this, Dane. Like, it's insane. Look at that. It's crazy. Right off that break. Boom. There's literally nothing to do. Nothing. It's a great trade. So I think that's how you need to look at it and figure out what it's going to do. But for me, I like that a lot. So it could continue. Look, if you're trying to trade it and you're not in it yet, you got to see if it goes above here and you have to start moving your stop up with it because you've missed the breakout. Your breakout was right here at this level. And once you've done that on that volume, you went up and that was it. But other than that, you need to play either a pullback or a shorter term trade of getting up and in. And just realize, you're not in a breakaway market here. So you just have to, have to watch a couple things because you're not in that kind of market. And you have some resistance. Oops. I don't know how that did it. Maybe that was this button here. So, but let me just draw that back. So, I mean, there's your first resistance point, 68, 69, pretty easily. So, and we've been respecting these upper trend lines across the board and other names. So, I'm going to be trading weeklies because I can make more money doing the weeklies. I mean, you can go out and buy something like that far out. But I think there's too much uncertainty and there's going to be too many rallies in between the sell-offs. So for me, I just do weeklies on rallies. I just find it more productive. Crowd, Lightspeed, and MNDY. So these, there's something. Let's start here. So apparently there's a short seller report on this. If that's the case, you should really be looking at this because right there on like Lightspeed, you can really see this bounce. You could see this bounce. So I think that's what you have to look at. You have to look and say, can this bounce from here? And the answer is absolutely. So I don't know who put the short report out on it. I didn't really pay attention, frankly. But this starts to curl down here. Yeah, I mean, your first stop's 103, 104. And if you get through that, you start getting up into the, the wedge gap and all of this. And you can get there if it's a huge short position very easily. So, FYI, just keep that in mind. So. Now here, I was showing this earlier. I mean, you're kind of stuck. I don't really see anything great here. You're not down enough that you're going to look for a bounce and then move. And there was one more that you were interested in, Crowd. So Crowd, long term, I like the name, but I mean, it's, look, you're tied to the index now. So now you have an issue with the index, right? Because you're tied to the index. But if you overlook some of this, like you're trying, but you're wedged in here. So you really don't have anything, right? So get rid of that. Now you can draw this a little tighter, right? So what is that really telling us? It's telling us that we're in a downtrend in a falling market, right? And as always, you can clone these, right? And then see where they lay because they need to have the same trajectory, right? And that kind of gives you an understanding of where your channel is. Now, looking at that, you have a long way down if this continues to do what it's doing. So I wouldn't really be looking to go long here, right? Even on the higher high, where are you going here? If you're looking for 3-4 points, sure. But other than that, you need to be looking at buying it on the lower end of this until it solves itself for a bounce or breaks out of this. But you're in no man's land there. So I don't like being in that position. Let's go there. Bouncing and declining. Oh, yeah. Bouncing into declining moving averages is bad. Like, it's really not. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not good. I mean, it's one of the reasons why, like in the newsletter and in the community, everything's shorter term. And we're going to be that way. I actually think I'm going to do a new series for the month of October, which is like top 5 of 5. Like, do it in 5 minutes and just make it public. Top 5 ideas to watch next for tomorrow. Literally short and long, just because I think you're going to go through a really short-term period here for the next month until this settles itself in. This is not a day that's going to take. It's going to take longer. So, chemical agriculture. That's interesting. Thanks. I know that. I didn't know that's what MOS was. I thought they were something else. But yeah, I'll definitely take a look. I mean, the LXU looks great longer term. Oh, Most is a fertilizer company. There you go. So let's just get into Caesars. Caesars, I like. It just ran away from me. I mean, it just on the Merck news. Like I think, look, if I was in the casino business right now, right, and I was U.S. based, and the majority of my place was U.S. based, I'd be very excited right now because with that news that came out from Merck, it's completely, this move is not being really viewed well. Like people are aware of risk, right? But if you can mitigate that risk with a pill, they're going to take the pill. I mean, they just are. So, that's really the bottom line with it. So, here's the 200-day, the 50-day, the 21, the 8. Look, I mean, you're breaking out. I mean, you actually broke out on Friday. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this go higher. The issue is this for me. And it's why I really wasn't chasing it, right? So like, where am I going? I got to go up to 125 before I run into a problem. So maybe if it comes back down, test the 8, and I could get 10 points, maybe then I'd be interested. But that whole space looks great. This is huge. It's a really great breakout the other day. Very nice. Look at your downward trend line. That's drawn poorly. There we go. See, now you broke your downward trend line and now you're breaking out to go. Like, wow, that looks really good, especially in a market like this. Like, look, and it broke out on Friday. So I don't know if you're expecting news or not, but yeah, I mean, that looks great. It's not something I'm going to chase up here in a week going from 120, what was the low? Yeah, from 130 to 145. It's probably not something I'm going to chase. MAR. So, yep, I mean, same thing. Same exact thing. Look, that's all you're looking for. I mean, you can see where some of these other levels are and how it's acting on them, right? $153, $160. So I like that. I think that could work, but you got to get through these. You really have to get through 160. But that could definitely, without a doubt, work. Let's look at this on the daily. Yeah, I mean, look, I think a lot of these travel stocks are going to do very well. I really do. I think they're going to explode, frankly, when people start getting it. Which ones did I miss? PAYX. I think when people start really understanding what's going on, that they can just, again, take an oral pill and it's going to reduce it. You get vaccinated. And then on top of that, if you're that concerned about it, here you broke out, went, boom, closed up here. Yeah, I think this looks good. You have to see follow through, right? I mean, that's your first test. Do you really want to buy it here if you can wait $3 to get up there? Probably not. You're probably better off just waiting. I mean, it's very nice that you closed above the 50-day, right? I mean, it shows stronger relative strength than two of the major indexes on Friday, but let's see how that plays out. But I'd look for 118 because if I can get through 118, you could hop back in this channel. I can actually just take this and throw it over here. So, and there's your channel. So, I mean, I have plenty of room to run here on this, on Paychex. So, yeah, I like that trade. Out of the ones that you gave me, I think that has a lot of potential. LXU's chemicals. All right. PEDAMEH. Well, this one's pretty easy, right? I mean, this is pretty easy, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but, we did the same thing again. We got out of this and stayed out of it. I think we made $10 on it. On to the next one. Look, this 99 level, bonk, 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 closes over, makes you think it's going to run. I remember talking about this day. It was on the short list of something to buy, but what we needed to do was what? We needed to get up and over, right? And that's not what it did. It collapsed and tested the 50-day. So I wouldn't go near this. I'd be really careful here. Now you have one spot. You see where you're at on the 50-day right here, that you still haven't closed below it since that break. So, this morning star was just a bounce and it worked perfectly from here. But if you come from this spot, hold on one second. Let me just draw that perfectly to here. All right. So if you do it that way and you take a look at it, kind of puts it in perspective, right? I'd be really careful here because you're in a rising wedge and you have a double top. So that usually could lead to a major break. I would not want to be long here. It would not make me feel warm and fuzzy. Google broke, right? So, Google broke. It's the index and it did what the index did. This is your major trend line here. Okay. There it is. Here's your island, right? Gaps down, rallies back up, gaps down. This is an island reversal. You can't go near this. Someone was asking me earlier today, which one do they buy for the longer term? Depends if you want to have voting rights or not. Other than that, it really doesn't matter. But could you trade back up to here? Sure. Do I really want to buy a $2,700 stock for $100? Probably not. It's probably not worth it. Maybe not. Maybe there's an options play there, but that's all I would think, Jen. So JLLSIVB. That's a pretty nice looking chart too. Look at that. That's beautiful. No volume though. Thin name, very little volume. But that's what you're looking for, those kinds of moves. Maybe that goes, maybe that continues to go. That's really very interesting. So I'm not really sure what they do. Again, if I don't know the name, it's not much I can add on the fundamental side. But if you see this break above this and you're interested in trading it, you have room. I don't know if you can see this channel or not. Let's do it this way. Let's bring this down. You have room to run. Let's just do it from here. It's more conservative, right? So I could get up to here. I could get up to 285. So I have room there to run. So something to consider. PED. I know I missed one. So yeah, like these kinds of names, I really, it's either going to work or it's not going to work. How I would do this is if you think it's going to go, I would treat it as an option, right? And I'd buy as much as I'd be willing to lose in an option. Speaking of that, you have Facebook's 60 Minutes tonight. So you might want to watch that stock tomorrow. You might want to put that one on your list. That could break down. So right here, and this is what you're dealing with. All right. Yeah, you can see your level. It's either going to go or it's not going to go. I have no way. I have no way of knowing. That's just not really something that's technically that's going to add value. I don't know, Brett. It's rare that Apple buys a company. I don't know enough about it. I thought we were going to get a bounce, a real bounce, and we played it on Friday in the community on the long side and the short side, and also mRNA. This chart, if something's going to bounce, this looks to me like it's going to bounce way more than this. Okay, this just opened at the high and just could not rally at all. If you look at the difference between the two, on Friday. Let's get rid of these indicators. That's your chart on Friday. I mean, that's just really setting up to roll again, right? I mean, you broke at the last 15 minutes. Like this just is set up to roll again. And, you know, BNTX, look, you know, hopefully it holds, but I was looking at it as trying to get up and in it on, you know, to stay there. And I didn't get what I wanted on Friday and I broke. But you can see how at least on this one, at least on BNTX, and I'll just show you the difference, at least this got above the high. When it broke out here, it presented an opportunity to buy it based upon this wedge and the squeeze. So I actually bought it, made some money. I made like 4 points off of it. Not really what I was hoping for. I don't think you know, maybe by the time I was done with slippage, I don't even think I made that much. Yeah, about 4 points. So that wasn't really the move I wanted there. There was another trade down here when it curled, you know, that you could have done. But the real money was made. You know, we shorted this a couple days ago, like back here when it broke the 200-day or the 50-day, right? So this was what like the initial short, but this was just gravy. So I think that, you know, I mean, when you're short and then you get something like this, you have these exhaustive gaps. Yeah, you can definitely bounce. But you have to look for indications that are saying that. There's nothing about this that is saying that it's ready to turn. Nothing yet. There's just nothing there yet. So maybe on a hammer bar, if you get above that level, if you get above 259, you know, maybe you go. Maybe you can come back up here to the 8. But these are broken now. This is broken. So this is sell the rallies and just short it now. I mean, that's really where you're at. You know, maybe somebody buys them. Maybe Pfizer now buys the company. I don't know. I don't know enough about their voting shares to answer that accurately. So can we get you and what you're looking for a proper market chat video? I don't know him. You're like the third, fourth person that's like asked me that. I don't know him. I think we follow each other on Twitter. Seems like a nice enough guy. Yeah, Terry, you're onto something. You're on the right path. I think that it depends how active you want to be. If you want to buy a put and keep it as insurance, just go out longer term for 2 months. If you want to make money, just wait when you're up like this, right? You just wait till the indexes are up or 1 or 2% in a day and then watch everybody jump in. And that's when you start putting on your short positions. That's the type of market you're in. So I don't know if you heard this, and I'll just throw it out there. Minervi did an IBD article interview this weekend. And if you listen to the wording of what he said in one time, he was very clear about it. He said, oh, on the last run up, I shorted more. He bought more puts. I mean, it's pretty clear what side, you know, you should be on. You should be comfortable. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Was it Hindenburg D's? Because they're awful. They are just absolutely awful. That's why I'm curious who it was. But that's definitely something that I would consider, you know, as a trade, that light speed. D's, I actually wrote that light speed down as something I'm going to set an alert to. Just FYI. Merck and Merck and IWM. I did Merck and I didn't do IWM. I don't think. I think I showed it, but let's just get to it. So I can get rid of this. So here's what I would say. If I was looking for short-term longs, I would be all over the IWM. Okay. So it's the only one, right, that we've been basing for a year. There's nowhere to break down. We're this close to the 200-day, right? The one that should pop first should be this. It's going to benefit the most from Merck. I did go over Merck already, but I'll do it again real quick, Rocky. And then if you can flip over 224, which could happen as soon as tomorrow, you can retest this. I mean, this is the sector that should move the most based upon the information we received on Friday, right? I mean, with the tapering cover coming sooner, tech's got problems. The economy, the brick and mortar doesn't really have the same issues. So that's what I think. In regards to Merck, I just think people were walking it down. I gave these levels. These are the levels you have to watch. Until then, you're in a trading range between these two, $4. Until then, there's really nothing to do except if you want to buy it close to this one, and then if it breaks it, just blow it out. But other than that, there's nothing really to do. You can play that game too. You could buy it like around the 81, and then if it breaks here, you lose 40 cents, or by the time you're done with slippage, who cares? It's next trade. So let me just keep going. Got a bunch of names here to review still. You're welcome, Dees. So, yep, Ro, I can do that. So I think this is another one that's going to benefit greatly. I think they're completely overvalued. I had a level set here, and I just didn't act on it. Let me remove that ray. So I just didn't act on the trade when it went off here. I just didn't like the market, so I didn't do it. And I probably missed a couple points on the trade, right? But you're setting up again here. So in other words, let's get this straight. Let's go through this and look at exactly what's transpired. We can get rid of these for a moment because this is absolutely something that people should be looking at. You might want to take a note to that because the key issue with it, okay, the key issue with this is that you're in a position where you're going to benefit greatly from what? From an opening economy, from people wanting to travel. Okay, Merck does that. It does. Because people now feel that, oh, if they get sick, that this could happen. Okay, that they could take this pill and they might get better. That's all people are looking for, right? And people are, there was a really good article in the New York Times, and it said, pandemics end two ways. They end socially or they end medically. And this one is ending socially, right? There's still risk, but people are just over it. And you can see that by looking at the football stadiums. It's very clear. So I like this, and I didn't mean to go on a rant there. I'm just pointing out that stocks like this are going to benefit greatly from that. People wanting to travel, people wanting to get social, right? Just think the whole thing through. So if you do, yeah, this could really go, right? But, I probably want to see 177 before I got all excited. I wouldn't want to just sit in here and base for a while and be stuck. But the 177 break would be of interest. Let's throw back in the bells and whistles, and that gets you above the 8-day. So when in doubt, if you're in a tough market like this, one rule of thumb, and I was explaining this to someone earlier today, just don't buy anything that's not above your 8-day moving average. And then just start making sure you're above the others, but make sure you're above the 8-day. If you're not, just don't buy the stock. If you're above the 8-day moving average, when this market starts reversing or even on short-term rips, you're going to benefit greatly from those names. So, but I like Airbnb, but I'd watch that level. INMD. So, yeah, you just kind of have to watch it. You're kind of wedged in there, aren't you? See how you're wedged in between these two indexes? So I'd watch this. I don't like this H. It doesn't make me feel great. Right? All I see is red and wicks. So, and we'll remove those segment lines and keep on rocking and rolling here. So CF, SWF, hey, Swing. So look, this was thrown out in our trading room on Friday by one of the members, not by me. And he nailed it. I was looking at it, absolutely nailed it, crushed it, right? Decent move, broke out. To me, from this point, again, 61.25, and maybe you can get back up to here and you get to 68. There's probably 7 points. Look for a 15-minute break, something like that, to trade it, to get in and out. But I wouldn't stay there too long, Dane. Yeah, I didn't watch a lot of football today. I watched charts, a lot of charts today. Win. Here's the problem with Win. It's the same problem that I have with. It's the same problem I have with Vegas. You just are Sands. You don't know when this is going to end. Okay. You can assume that it's going to end here off a bounce, right? Like that's the day. This is what you wanted to see on Friday, right? But this didn't move like the other names, right? It really didn't. It moved up a little bit. You broke out of there. Maybe you get more action tomorrow, but you really didn't move up like the other names. So if you overlay this, you could look at like a MACD histogram and say, oh, that's interesting, right? Like here's the selling on the MACD, and now it started to stop being so much selling, right? And that's really what you wanted to see. And then you can see it getting tighter and tighter. And now here you are, right? So maybe that goes. I don't have any volume. right? No one's really paying attention to that name, right? Not like they should. If you look here in the volume size, RSI's curling. Well, that's good, right? That's very different than where you were here. So that's a positive divergence. So you do see some signs that that's great, but let me just point out what I'm getting at here with Win, right? And I can do Sands again too. We can look at that, but it's going to be looking in the mirror, right? Actually, Win looks better the way the chart is because it's at least into the gap. But let's look at this for a moment, okay? Like Caesars, like this looks substantially better, right? RRR, substantially better. And you're coming to the highs of an average daily move where you're not really coming to the highs of an average daily move here, are you? So I would watch that. The light volume would concern me. So I don't think it's going to receive much support. No, I think they have an issue. I think Wynn and Vegas have an issue. And the name of that issue is Macau. The same thing, live by the sword, die by the sword. And Macau is 7x or 8x what Vegas is, right? The issue is that the Chinese, the party in power can literally just say, oh, well, we want a stake in your company now, or you have to leave. And there's literally nothing you can do about it. Like it's very difficult to do business like that. And it's really gonna hurt them. Yeah, energy, I'm all over energy. PED, I just put up. Let me know if you saw it, Swing. If not, I'll do it again. I think, look, I'd be really careful there. That's all I'm saying to you. I mean, do I think it could work? Yeah, it could absolutely work, right? It could absolutely work. The issue becomes, do you just trade around and stay in a trading range for a while, right? Like the real swing in something like the Sands, Michael, like if you're trying to play these bounces, right? The real swing that happens is when the 8-day and the 21 correct and the 21 gets under us, okay? Once the 21 gets under you and the 8, then you could start seeing more of a turn in it because you have more interest then at that point. Until then, just like you did here, right? No different than this cross here and then how it went up, tested here, and then the news came out, and then we had this reversal island gap right here, and that was the end of it. But one, no, you're not dropping down anymore. Two, what you're starting to do is you're starting to get to a level where this might hold and it might go higher. Okay? So that can work here. It can. But I don't know what you paid for the options, but I don't know if you're going to have enough time. You're still going to have to contend with these levels. And there's a lot there still. There's only 2 points before you get to the 50-day. FinTech looks pretty decent. Yeah, we have to see what happens with interest rate swing. SFT. So, I wouldn't go near this. Like, this is just completely broken. Look at that. They just kept walking you down, right? I haven't looked at this in a while, but, you can see what they're doing to you. They're just walking you down, gapping you up, making you think, luring people in, and then just jamming it right back down. So it's not something I would go near. Hey, Lucas, DOCN and Affirm. Affirm, just to start with, I did that one in the top 10 video this week. If you haven't seen that top 10 video, you might want to. And if you don't subscribe to the channel, you might want to, because I'm going to start, I think this week I'm going to do top 5 at 5, like in 5 minutes, just run through the top 5 names, long and short, to watch tomorrow. Look, in regards to Affirm, yeah, you have like this bear flag right here, right? But this is one of the things that I pointed out that I thought was interesting. I have an inside week. So that's a little bit different. And I have an inside week inside of a bull flag on a breakout. The key number is pretty obvious. It's 126.46. You're hitting it here. You're opening on it here. You can't close above it, right? You cannot close above that number. So for whatever reason, that's your level. And that's what you should be watching. But do I think there's a trade there? Yeah, I do. I think there is a trade there. I think that can work. So DOCN, that's why I put it in the top 10 for a trade. But the DOCN, I think you could break out here and then you could continue to go. So I think you could, again, break out here, right at this level, Look where I'm looking. I'm on a weekly, right? Because I'll show you why in a minute. 83.88. Okay. Not this right here. Okay. I want you to get above this. These two wicks, this and that wick, is what you need to get above. Okay. You can see why. Hold on. Let's get rid of it. I'll draw it this way. It'll be cleaner. Okay. See it? Bonk. We got over it. Became support. Then what did it become? Resistance, resistance, and that's it. That's your level, not this. Okay. Put the averages in. You can see that you're not above the 8. Do I really want to buy this for 2 points? Probably not. Get above that. Call it 84. And yeah, this could go. Let's get rid of all this. Let me show you where you're at now. Because remember this line before, this was the line we talked about before that it needed to break. Let's remove that segment line. I don't know if you saw this trade before or not, but that was the line we needed to break. We broke it, came back down, and then went. It's textbook. It's beautiful. And then it ripped. But now what do you do with it? You need to wait for that 84 level. Let's get rid of everything else that's on here. Let's get rid of all annotations and just look at this line. I mean, this thing could go, this has a lot of room to go, man, like a lot. So before you run into any issues, I mean, you could probably argue this. So, and that still gets you, 12 points. So let's just keep going. Square, Affirm, PayPal. Yeah, I think it's going to take time, but yeah, I agree. It's going to be an issue. Square, I looked at the other ones already. I mean, you just have to avoid this until it settles in. Like, look, these are all the levels I have marked off. Keep looking to buying it. And now I broke the 200-day moving average. It's not really where you want to be. It's just not where you want to be. So JAL's real estate, good. RRR, yeah, I like that. Affirm, I did. RRR, I did earlier. Look, this is one that we were in the newsletter, and I was just earlier. We got stopped out right here. On this reversal bar, it just stopped us out, and that was it. Came back down, tested the 50, reversed right there, and then boom, went again. And now look at it. It's a machine. So it is working, and it's working quite well. So not really much to say there. I think that you need to just wait to see if we rally this week. If you don't rally this week and you start taking out lows, yeah, you should be lightening stuff up. There's no question about it. But you could bounce here and then lighten up into the bounce is how I would play that. Merck, I did. Tesla, I don't think I did yet. Actually, I did do Tesla at the beginning of this. Look, this is pretty clean. You really want to watch this level, 780, 79 tomorrow. They came out, I'll show you this. Third quarter delivery numbers beat all expectations, even the highest estimate. We've been in this since 735 for a trade, and they're 765, actually 730. I don't know why it says 735. That's odd. 730. So what do you do now with it? You sit there and you watch it. But I think you're heading back to here. And I think you're heading here very soon. I think you're going to break out and hit all-time highs. For the breakthrough, it's not going to anymore. That's done. So I think we're going to, I think Myrna could have real problems. I think both those names are going to have real issues. Look, I'm trying not to make this like a political thing, but you have to understand something. When you're holding and they're drawing lines in the sand and you're starting to see what's going on globally, this is not going the way that they thought it was going to go, where everybody's just acquiescing and getting this. Now, I'm not saying whether or not they should or not, but you throw that into where people feel that they're being forced to do something instead of having it explained to them. They're not going to do it. They're just not. They're going to fight that. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just the way that it is. So the way they're addressing this issue is not the right way. So you're seeing that pushback. Now, take that into account with a company just came out and said, by the way, if you take this pill, you have a 50% chance of not going to the hospital or dying. So, you go through your levels and you look at that stuff. Why am I getting this? So, or how some people are going to think. And it's a personal choice, right? It's just a personal, if that's the case, you could come back down to this. When you start, look, these went up on the premise that everybody was going to get 3 shots now, right? Now that's not going to happen. It's just not. So these could, you're already seeing the FDA say 65 and older for now. So you're going to start seeing this roll back down. So I think that the larger move there is over. I really do. I think the larger move there is over. Yeah, and I was going to say, thanks, Jacques, but I would definitely subscribe to this channel and click the like button. If you can do me a favor and click the like button, because I'm trying to get in front of as many people as possible. So let's just keep going so I can get this going. Oh, I don't know them. I didn't read it. I'll find it. IWM, I did. Hopefully you saw it. More and more volume for any new. I know you like these little names. Let's take a look at it real quick. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go near this. I wish you well with it, but I'm just not. That's not for me. You're just waiting to see if you have news. Maybe you get news, maybe you don't. So, well, it's right. Like that's my point, Michael. I'll get to that in a minute. Did you cover UPST? I'm only a small portion of negative. Yeah, I didn't cover UPST. I was looking at buying that Friday into the close, looking at that bounce, and then I couldn't hold 300, and so it bothered me. So I didn't. Right. So here's my level, 299.65. Let's get rid of all this stuff, and I'll show you what I was looking at. I was looking at the top of this bar. Okay. That's what I was looking at from this break. That would have been the first thing I needed to see, was getting above that bar, right? So there was no way I was buying this. Bonk, 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 right? Like, there's just no way I was going to buy this going into the weekend, not knowing what tomorrow is going to be, right? I think that we may bounce, but I could be dead wrong. So it's not something I'd be rushing into right now. If you're in this and you have a small loss, get out with clean hands tomorrow and then find another spot. Don't be very careful in this kind of environment, holding losses overnight on new positions you buy during the day. It could get bad. This could get worse than people think it can. So just, that's not, look, if you did that with like this, I mean, like here's one that I did, right? Like I recommended this, and then it broke this. I was like, here, let's give it a shot. Let's see if it holds. It didn't hold. And if you didn't sell when it broke, this is what you're dealing with, right? I mean, like when these things reverse and you get nasty, this can get nasty. And that's what you have to realize. It can get a lot worse than people think it can. So, sorry about that. So let's just keep going here. Oh, you're welcome, Rook. So the problem with the comparison is this, okay? At least in the US, they're not going to be putting us in a position where the government at this point is going to say, we want a stake in your company if you want to stay open. Like, we're not dealing with that yet. So keep that in mind. That's a big difference, right? And people don't like uncertainty with their money. They just don't, Michael. They really don't. So EPAM, yeah, I mean, you've completely broken down here. Let's throw these indicators in real quick. So that's definitely not something that I'd be looking at. You have pretty much a bear flag here. What's that look like? And you're below your 50-day? Yeah, I mean, you better hold here or you're going to have an issue. That's not something I'd be rushing into. I think that you're going to fall. I think you're going to have real issues unless like, look, what could make it go up, Sam? What could make it go up? Merck goes for emergency youth authorization, and they say no. Okay, because they want people vaccinated, or they just don't think the drug's good enough, right? Let's not get into the whole conspiracy thing. So let's just say that they say no. Now what? Right now what? So those stocks would go back up on that news. Other than that, so there's a big difference there. Let me just keep going here. So MOS, I did MOS already, Isaac. Hold on one second. IBM. Let me finish these. I like MOS, Isaac. I'm waiting for this. I'll show it to you here. MOS. I'm just waiting for this break right here. But if you go back further, it's in there. And I always leave these posted for at least a couple days now because people seem to review them. So 145 has been the level that you need to watch. So let's go. SIVB. I didn't see that earlier, Nicholas. Let's see. SIVB. Yeah, I mean, this looks good. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's working. How tied are they to interest rates, right? I mean, this has been basing since back here. So most of these financial names, I don't know specifically what this one does, but this is like, if this stuff gets going, this is just going to rip. If this truly gets going, and it looks like it's going to, I mean, look, this is a tough trade because it's a big, fast mover on interest rates, but look at this. I mean, it doesn't really get much cleaner. So, but to get back to your, yes, I mean, breaking out here, forming that wedge here, just let it break above that wedge line and then give it a chance, right? All you really are looking for is this right here, right? On the one you just asked me about, get a higher high, flip that, and then see if it goes. You have a huge base here, so it can go. So that can definitely go. There's no question about it. So it depends on your experience. Can you use Bookmap? Sure. There's a bunch of tools that you could use. I haven't found one that I think is very good, to be honest. So, I mean, I have that. I rarely use it. I have a lot of things that I would recommend over that. Sam, email me here, and I'll talk to you about it. Sam, just email me, and we can go through it because I don't want to bash something that somebody's using if they're finding value in it. Good evening, Dan. I just think that energy is going to move. Let me do DVN, and then I'm going to wrap this up so I can prep for tomorrow. I like energy. I think it's going to continue to move. That one's kind of ahead of itself for me. So to me, I think that you're going maybe 3 or 4 points higher. I'll tell you what, I will leave you with this. I would start looking at these. I'd start looking at Duke. This is one we put in the newsletter recently. I'd start looking at energy. So I would start looking at them. I think they're pretty fascinating what's going on there. That's a massive dump for utility names. Massive. So, and the IBM, yep. Hold on one second. So I think that you have to just watch that 145 level. Get through that 145 and you can go. All this is turning perfectly. It's all aligning itself perfectly. But you could test that, get through 145, and now you're going to start trying 152, 154. No, I think you can stay in the. Here's the last question of the night. Yeah, I mean, if you have a process, stick to your process. The issue is that if you don't have a process, you're going to get slaughtered in a market like this. You're going to get crushed. People that don't have a process last week had a really, really crappy week, right? Because when they break, they're really breaking. And that's what people aren't used to. So, yeah, I mean, if that's your stop, that's your stop. I don't know how you're picking that, but the 21 day it should hold. If it breaks the 21 day, it's done. Swing. That'll be the end of it. So, thanks, Dan. So, what is that? MBII? Yeah, I mean, I don't play these. Maybe it goes, maybe it doesn't. Ton of volume out of the blue on one day. It's not really my speed, Terry. I get slaughtered and stuff like that. I can't move any size and things like that. I don't know, Brett. What is the reason for the supply issues? I mean, they seem to have all these ships off all the coasts, and why aren't they coming to the coast? Is it a truck shortage? I mean, if it's a truck shortage, we should be looking at the truckers. So I don't really understand that. So all right, that's it. All right, I got to go. I got to prepare for tomorrow. Everyone, have a great evening.